Me? For real? Oh. You can call from the Bahamas using Rev Boy's prepaid home phone service and prepaid chat cards for much less.
Hey girl, are you ready?
You get free unlimited on-island calls, voicemail, and no internet service or ID is required.
Hello?
Rev Boy's prepaid home phone service and prepaid chat cards.
Hey, vai bien.
Staying in touch never sounded so good.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned in to NB12 broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios. Coming up tonight in news, government considers extending BTC's monopoly in the mobile market. A suspect charged with the rape of a pastor's wife. The latest U.S. trafficking in humans report released, government officials respond. Plus, Cable Bahamas has a new face and voice. We've got those stories and so much more. I'm Vonique Toot and NB12 starts now. Shopping news tonight. As part of government's agreement with cable and wireless communications, the Bahamas Telecommunications Company has a monopoly on this country's mobile phone market until April 2014. However, Prime Minister Perry Christie revealed today there is a possibility BTC's exclusivity period could be extended. Following a CIBC conference held at the Atlantis Resort, he told NB12 it's something CWC has asked government to consider as the two sides continue to discuss the Christie administration's efforts to regain a controlling interest in BTC.
Liberalization is supposed to take place in March of next year. Clearly, I have to move relatively quickly to be able to determine whether it's going to be in April or May or July in terms of any extension or not at all.
As government tries to convince CWC to give up 2% of BTC shares, Christie says the possible extension of BTC's monopoly on the cellular market has become a bargaining chip in its talks with the telecoms giant. He suggested that CWC might be willing to compromise if the Christie administration considers extending BTC's exclusivity period.
If they're saying, I want you to think about this for the 2%, I'll think about it. The question is whether or not I extend the time for them to still hold and extend the dates for liberalization. These are issues. These are all issues that are on the table in my discussions.
However, there is one thing Christie says he will not compromise on. The country's cellular market must be opened before the next general election.
Liberalization must happen in my time, and that means I have a 4-year window left before the next general elections. It must happen in my time, and it must set in my time. In other words, whoever is coming in as a result of liberalization, whichever company, must be in and active, and the Bahamian people having the benefits. And part of the benefits will be competition and lower costs.
The Ingram administration sold 51% of BTC's shares to CWC back in 2011. Christie, who was opposition leader at the time, pledged to take back 2% if his party won the 2012 general election. Months later, CWC is still majority shareholder. Christie says people should expect the process to take a while when government is not using coercion or intimidation. He says it's important that this issue does not negatively impact BTC's operations or diminish the value of the company's shares.
I've asked the directors to please advise me on the talk about laying off a couple hundred people and closing down various things and so forth. And so we are acting on behalf of 49% ownership of the people of this country. And it's very, very important that we do not destabilize the company by any discussions that are running parallel to their operations.
However, more than 2 years after BTC's privatization, Christie says he's still not happy with its quality of service.
They know I'm not happy. They've given me explanations about the service, but they know I'm not happy. No, you can't be happy. I mean, you actually have a telephone. I don't know if you have drop calls. Don't you have drop calls? All the time.
The Prime Minister says he wanted to wrap up the budget debate before moving to finalize his plans. He says he has a date in mind for his final meeting with CWC executives. From the courts, an 18-year-old man was charged in the magistrate's court this afternoon with the rape of a pastor's wife. Thorne Cooper of East Street appeared before Chief Magistrate Roger Gomez. The victim, who is a 51-year-old woman, was allegedly assaulted on June 15th. According to police reports, the pastor's wife was cleaning the church on Saturday in preparation for a Father's Day service when she was raped. Cooper was also accused of robbing the victim of $130. He was remanded to Her Majesty's prisons. The Foreign Affairs Minister and Attorney General are speaking out on reports of an underage child sex ring in the Bahamas. Last week, Minister of Tourism Obi Wilshcombe said his ministry is worried over reports of prostitution of boys in the tourist hub festival place. Wilshcombe said he feared reports of illicit activities would damage this country's reputation. However, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell and Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson said today there is no evidence that child sex rings exist here.
There's always in a tourist country, there appears to be this blanket allegation being made of child prostitution. I think when the Attorney General addressed the subject, and of course she's here this morning, she said that there is no evidence of child prostitution in this country. There's no evidence of it.
We want to be very careful about, as to use the minister's word, a blanket simply being thrown out and being said that because you are a tourist destination, just like any other tourist destination, you have to have child prostitution. We don't have, our police are very vigilant.
Both ministers said even with no evidence to support that claim, police have been on alert since those reports surfaced.
Now, that doesn't mean that you're not sensitive to it, that you're not watching out for it, but, if there is no evidence of it.
More than 2 weeks after a Cuban detainee escaped from the Carmichael Road Detention Center, Cuban ambassador to the Bahamas Ernesto Soberon Guzman asserts the Bahamian government has failed to brief Cuban officials on the matter until recently. And there have been other communication challenges between the two governments. Royston Jones has the details in this report.
Guzman said Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell briefed him on Wednesday about the escape and the attempted escape of another 3 Cuban detainees who were hospitalized. He called the matter a communication breakdown, but said diplomatic relations between Cuba and the Bahamas remain strong.
We have a good relation, we have all the contacts, but unfortunately, in this case, this line of communication failed because until today in the morning, no one informed us about this incident. So the minister was the person that informed me about this incident with the Cuban detainees that tried to escape from the detention center. And we agree that it's very important that every time that something happened with the Cubans, they immediately inform the embassy.
During a severe storm on May 31st, 10 Cuban detainees reportedly attempted to escape. All were prevented from escaping the facility except for Roberto Algura Lamadrid, according to the Department of Immigration. Director of Immigration William Pratt confirmed today that Lamadrid is still at large. Guzman says during his meeting with Mitchell, he was informed that officers used some degree of force to counteract the attempted escape. In the process, 3 Cuban detainees sustained injuries. A total of 38 Cuban men and women are being detained at the detention center. Here's what Guzman had to say when asked if he was satisfied with the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
That the force was necessary to counteract the attempted escape.
That was what they informed us. So in this case, we have a particular situation. Someone tried to escape from the detention center, and they used the force. Now I have to check if the force was excess or not, But this is something that I will not speak right now.
Guzman's comments came just days after a YouTube video purported to show Cuban detainees being physically and verbally abused at the Carmichael Road Detention Center by Bahamian law enforcement officers. The video went viral and was reported on a South Florida news station. Mitchell has called the video a manufactured attempt to damage the image of the Bahamas, but has promised to launch an investigation into the matter. Guzman planned to visit the detention center this morning to speak to the Cuban detainees, including those who were injured in the attempted escape. NB12 understands Guzman toured the facility around 10:30 this morning. However, he declined to comment for now about his visit. Meanwhile, the Cuban ambassador says there are 10 Cuban detainees who have requested to be repatriated to Cuba, and he's just awaiting the completion of a new repatriation process. As far as the lines of communication between Bahamian and Cuban officials moving forward, Guzman says it's time to restabilize.
If you take any two countries around the world, there will be also some coincidence and some difference. But if we have the willingness and the ability to speak directly without any problem, I think that we can resolve that.
Guzman says as the Bahamas celebrates its 40th anniversary of independence next month, there's still opportunity to move forward and strengthen relations between both countries. Reporting for MB12, I'm Royston Jones.